live at Onigashima. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Anthony, and today we're bringing you chapter 1097, Ginny.
Well, I'm ready to get into this one. I don't want to skip over the cover request this week just because it's actually relevant. I love
Yeah, I
just seeing
like
the
it.
interactions between Ginny and Kuma.
Yeah,
Honestly, best ship in One Piece so far.
yeah, they're really cute together, honestly. And it's cool to see, like, just how he uses his powers outside of regular, battle and stuff like that. And we can see that these two guys have been with them for a long time and have clearly, like, stuck with them. These are the same guys that we see later in Bonnie's crew. I think we see them in Sabaody. It was the first time we see them. And these were the guys that were like bullying Kuma that Ginny like scared off or whatever, and then Kuma healed them in the last chapter. So cool to see it in the cover story. But
and one thing that I've really liked about getting into this chapter is, like you said, Kuma's powers. Like, we already knew how OP they were, but just seeing it in action and seeing it outside of combat more, it's like it feels kind of limitless. With what
it's pretty broken. And so chapter starts out. We see him healing a bunch of people, so he's using it for good. We find out that Kuma is a pastor at a very young age, and he's healing everybody in the village. And Ginny's kind of like, listen, like, chill the fuck out. Like, everybody's kind of criticizing her for it, but she's doing it because she knows that that pain has to go somewhere, and that Kuma's taking it every night. It's crazy that Kuma's weekends are Zoro's best moment in the series.
He does this daily. Although, and I do like the parallel, but I will say this pain is nowhere near as much as what Zoro took. Like,
I don't know, man. These people go through, like, these are old people that have lived their whole lives, and I agree. Like,
okay,
definitely, like,
more
Luffy
like
had
back pain and shit, and like knee joint pain. Like, Luffy literally fought a giant. Like, it was worse.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it's crazy. So he takes it on himself. I guess assumedly because he doesn't want to like hurt anybody else with it. But later, I guess he just keeps it and uses it at his disposal as a weapon. So really, Zoro didn't have to take all of Luffy's pain. I guess he could have just kept it.
I was
gonna
ask, where is
elsewhere?
this pain going? If he doesn't take this, like, you have to assume it has to go somewhere.
Well,
so like, what happens if he just throws this bubble upwards and like lets it soar? Like, does
I think that the thing is that it probably has a limit, so that Kuma probably can't use it again. Like, he can't heal more people unless somebody else takes the pain at some point. So if he just like throws the bubble away, then he can't continue to like heal people. You know what I mean? So like that's probably his reasoning for
like, I need to reset it to zero,
he's got to reset it.
Maybe, but I don't know.
But one cool thing that I'd seen this theory maybe on TikTok or something. I don't remember who the original creator that said this was, but it's a theory that I really like, and I wanted to bring it up. We have been saying for the longest time, and it's got to be confirmed at this point. It's not like confirmed, but Kuma's definitely showing up to Egghead, right?
100%. Like, there's no way he's not.
Yeah, so the theory is that he's going to be the one to kill Saturn, right? He shows up on Egghead to protect Bonnie and, gets revenge on Saturn by taking all of the pain he's ever felt in his life, like all the, the slavery, the whipping, the head getting blown off by a Kainu, like all that shit that he's going through right now. He's going to take all of that and use it to kill Saturn, and then that amount of like pain releasing from his body, like,
I don't
probably
know.
Die.
Because we only see right now that he can take away physical pain and he can take away memories, like his own memories. But I don't know if he could make Saturn physically feel the pain of those memories necessarily. Like, Bonnie feels the pain of them because she relates to her father.
But he has a lot of physical pain too.
Oh yeah, he does. He is missing half his face. That's true. And
Yeah.
his leg.
Like, come on.
But I don't think that would kill. Like, he just healed like a stab wound, no problem. Like, I don't think that would kill Saturn. Is the thing.
I don't know, man.
So, like,
but like, who else is there to take down Saturn?
I think Kuma could help in the takedown of Saturn. I just don't necessarily know if it's because of this.
We'll see.
I feel like it's more gonna be a giant Ururu shock.
It could be, yeah.
But one thing I wanted to get into that I feel like, especially towards the end of this chapter, kind of like shows, is something we've been talking about with Bonnie's age, and like right now, 14 years ago, they haven't like had a kid, they haven't gotten married, nothing, and it
Right,
looks like
right.
she's kind of captured right now. Not kind of. She did get captured. Jenny got
Yeah,
captured.
she's been captured.
And if there's not this much time, one, the Bonnie is a kid thing, I'm a lot more on board with. But even more so, I do really think she's a clone at this point. That
Yeah, me too.
after Jenny got caught, like I don't think they're gonna like she's not getting out of this and then they're gonna have a kid after this,
No,
right?
no way, no
Like
way.
they're
I
gonna
think
get her
this is where Ginny dies, right here, probably.
yeah, I agree. And I think we have been saying this for like weeks now. This is like there's red flags, death flags all over her. She's gonna die here, and I think they're gonna pick up some of her DNA, and that's when they're
Hmm.
gonna start cloning her. But I also think, because we've also seen this, the seraphim kind of grow up faster than like normal
Oh,
people.
do you think that she's a
Like
seraphim? Like she's the first seraphim?
I think she could be maybe not like seraphim completely in terms of like oh all this DNA like from all these different like strong creatures, but I do think she's like a Stussy type clone, and even Stussy, like what she looks, she's in her like 30s or
I mean, she
40s
looks
right
just like
now,
she did when we saw her in the flashback.
which she was like 30 or 40,
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
say, and that was not like unless they cloned her right after God Valley, it wouldn't have been that long.
right.
So I think the clones grow up faster than like the normal people.
That's interesting. Yeah, that could be true. I mean, it's so weird because like obviously Bonnie has the age fruit, which got released in the SBS. The name of it, I don't know if you saw, but
Yeah,
either
I was
age or
saying that a lot
year. But he
recently.
said age, like kind of fits better. But yeah, it's weird because like we don't. It's very intentional that he's like toying with us about all these things. So we'll see how it goes. One thing I wanted to point out about that review at the end, that Ginny is the captain of the Revolutionary Army's Eastern Forces. So assumedly, she's in East Blue right now, right? And so I want to know who captured her and like what the deal is. Like what I know this is probably going to be explained in the next chapter, but I want to see how this all kind of unfolds. It'll be
What if it was? Did it say what? Let me read back. But what if it was like Arlong or something that captured her, like somebody that we knew?
that'd be interesting. I don't know if that timeline
Or
necessarily lines
what
up,
if
but
like we know Garp hangs out in the East Blue a lot. What if he captured Ginny knowing it
mm,
was a part of the Revolutionary, knowing like that was connected to his son Dragon?
that could
I
be.
mean, we did find out something that we all thought for a while that was confirmed, but Dragon was a part of the Marines
Oh
before he started the
yeah, yeah, that was a
Revolutionary Army.
huge reveal, and that was so casually dropped too. It was so small, and yet like now we know for sure. I think people theorized that for a long time, but you know that kind of explains the whole Akainu addressing Luffy back in Marineford a lot as Dragon's son, like over and over again.
Yeah, he
Clearly,
knows him a lot more personally.
yeah, clearly Dragon and Akainu know each other and something went down between them. However, what I will say is that rules out where Dragon got his scar and how Dragon got his scar, because this is a very deliberate thing in this chapter. When we first see Dragon and throughout the whole chapter, he does not have his scar, and this is after he would have left the Marines, right? And then in the very end of the chapter, which is what is it, 8 years in between when Kuma joined and when Juni became, I guess, captured and became the captain of the Revolutionary Eastern Forces.
Yeah.
He got that scar. The scar is the same.
Well, I don't know if it's a scar. I think it's more of a tattoo.
It could be a
I think it's
tattoo.
more-
I mean, it's the same pattern as the band on his leg that we see. So it could just be like a mark of being a revolutionary. Like maybe he just like decided to do that. I mean, nobody else in the Revolutionary Army has it, but
Yeah.
you know.
I don't know. I do think it's interesting that I feel like it was like subtly highlighting it,
Mm-hmm.
which I know is kind of like an oxymoron, but you're right. He didn't have the tattoo the whole chapter until the end, where like somebody actually got like captured.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, when they hear about this, you could see they're on Baltigo,
Mm-hmm.
which is where they were up until recently, where Blackbeard invaded.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder how long they've been on the island and how they kind of like found it and got it. I don't know if that's going to be important or not, but it could be.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they've relocated a couple times at this point, right? A lot of people are saying now that I've heard too many Ginny is Luffy's mom theories, and I just do not buy
I've
that.
heard it too. Yeah, same. I just don't think it's happening. I think it's more related to, like we've been saying, Bonnie's mom or like Bonnie's clone
Hmm.
person.
Yeah. Another thing in this chapter, when we see the Revolutionary Army for the first time, um, we see Ivankov. He has like lipstick and like the eyes and everything. I wonder if he at this point now has the hormone fruit. Like maybe he got it uh, in between meeting Dragon.
That's a good point. I didn't actually think about when Ivankov would have gotten his fruit, because yeah, when he left Kuma last, he definitely didn't have
Right,
it.
because he was trying to
But
eat the dragon fruit or the fish fruit.
yeah,
So it's cool to see how the revolutionaries got started and the freedom fighters got started and everything. Another little thing I wanted to point out that a couple people, I think Grand Line Review had mentioned this, but Kuma's eyes, right? We're seeing him completely with pupils, right, for like this whole time, and the entirety of since the beginning of the story, like non-flashback time, he doesn't really have pupils, probably just because he's a cyborg at that point. But that's another like big question that we need answered, that
I
obviously.
think it's showing like how he's lost his humanity to become a cyborg. Which, by the way, like it just makes me think like we haven't obviously seen him get turned into a cyborg yet, so we
Mhm.
still got a few more flashback chapters to go for that.
Yeah.
And I wonder what's going to happen. Like, is this the deal they're going to cut to make him into a cyborg? Like, does he try to save Ginny in some way,
Hmm.
and then that fails, and then that's where Bonnie comes about? Like, I don't know.
Well, it's
Like,
interesting because he hasn't met Vegapunk yet, right? And we saw a flashback of him with Vegapunk earlier in the arc, kind of sitting down and just like talking to Vegapunk. But I don't know if at that point he was becoming a cyborg or not,
well,
because he was just like Vegapunk was just commenting on like, oh my god, like the pawpaw fruit, like so interesting, blah blah blah. And I don't know if at that point Kuma was already like in the process of becoming a cyborg or not, or had already sold himself to the government. I would assume so, yes, because Vegapunk and Dragon had that conversation on Ohara where Vegapunk was like, I gotta side with the government because y'all don't have fucking money, you know?
yeah.
So I would assume at that point that Vegapunk was already with the government, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I just don't know when Kuma necessarily, because he now that he knows Dragon, anytime between here they could have met up with Vegapunk, right? If he
Hmm.
knows them, yeah, they might have to be sneaky about it, but I feel like it could have happened. But also maybe like you said, it's about to happen after like this whole Ginny thing, where she either dies, gets captured, or whatever happens to her.
Hmm. Another thing that I wanted to bring up about this chapter, that's a question about Kuma that we've had since the very beginning, and we've seen Kuma be the nicest guy throughout this whole thing. Why is Kuma known as the Tyrant? And I think we might have gotten a couple clues this chapter, because we see the king of Sorbet, and all of his shittiness, uh, divide the land into two, and I wonder if maybe Kuma is being blamed for that king's actions, or maybe Kuma kind of, he returned to South Sorbet, and maybe he becomes like the king of the South and rebels against the North or something, and like that's why he's called a tyrant or something like that. Or maybe the government pulls up to Sorbet and sees something like that, and then just like labels him as such. We don't
Yeah,
know.
kind of like a King Riku situation in Doflamingo. It's like oh, he technically did it because Doflamingo was controlling and forcing him, but
Right.
like it wasn't like his choice. Or in this case, like yeah, Kuma technically was a tyrant to the people of the North, but he was really just protecting more people along the way. And we saw him kind of do that in this chapter where he rebelled against them and like
Yeah.
blasted everybody away when they started like hurting the people he cared about.
Yeah, and that kind of proves also what we were kind of saying earlier about him being able to like store up the pain and then use it later. Clearly he can. He just doesn't do it because he's such a good guy. He'll just like take it on himself and doesn't want to hurt other people. But yeah, Kuma's the goat, man. Like I really do think that Kuma is gonna be like he needs to have a good showing as a warlord and like have a feat. Like I think all the warlords kind of like got a feat except for him and like Mihawk, obviously. Um,
But I think they've been saving them because they set them both up for a
yeah,
while and they're saving up for these big end game things. And the nice part about both of them is like even though they haven't had the biggest feat, they haven't had a lot of anti feats to go against them
right,
either. Like
right.
we haven't really seen Kuma struggle. Like he kind of just keeps like fighting strong people and
Hmm.
kind of going against strong people. But when he quote unquote loses, it's because he's like giving himself in for the government, assumedly to like protect something, knowing him.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Um, One other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on really quick was Kuma's ears. So I guess he grew those in as he like developed the pawpaw fruit, because we see it at the beginning of the chapter. He has his ears, right? And we know now that it's not just like his race doing that. Like that's the pawpaw
Yeah.
fruit, right? Like it's gotta be.
I mean, yeah, and I don't know if it's necessarily more than a design choice just because it's called the pawpaw fruit. Like, I don't think the ears are gonna
Yeah,
necessarily
but it
play.
deliberately like put it in. The
But
reason I say that is because I've heard theories, right? There's a lot of theories that when Kuma dies and is, because he's inevitably gonna die. I think he has just as many red flags as Ginny, if not more, right? Um, when he inevitably dies, his fruit is very, very, very important, and it's gonna be passed on to, assumedly, people are saying Vivi, right? People think that Vivi
yeah,
is gonna show up to Egghead, and when Kuma dies, she's gonna inherit the pawpaw fruit, and people say that
and
because they think that this was the only way that maybe the poneglyphs were spread around the globe, and now that we know Nefertari Lily and how she defected from the government, like maybe she was the one with the pawpaw fruit. And so coming back to the ears thing, people think that Lily has a lot of symbolism with like cats and stuff, and then Kuma also, the it being the pawpaw fruit, and also, like there were certain things when Kuma was first introduced on Thriller Bark, like Robin thinking of the pawpaw fruit as like a cat, and like a couple other things that kind of insinuate that it's, maybe a cat thing, or maybe he just developed these ears because like that's his personality, and the pawpaw fruit could be like any animal, and it's just like, you know, I have no idea. I'm just
well,
kind of like
I think the
spitballing, but
pawpaw is like they've also said it before. Like, I'm pretty sure the word kuma means like bear in
right,
Japanese or
right,
something. They're more like
it
representative
does,
of
yeah.
bears, but I could see how it has like the double meaning, and it could mean like the symbolism with cats. And I also like the thing with Vivi having this fruit because we've seen how benevolent like Kuma is with this fruit, and from Vivi we've seen nothing but benevolence. Like she
Hmm.
constantly, time and time again, sacrifices herself for her
I
country.
think she deserves
She,
it.
I think the fruit is befitting of her also, so I think it would be a good match. Along with, I don't know if you've heard the theory, but basically, in Japanese, like a bunch of the devil fruits, like the sounds phonetically that they make are numbers. So like
Hmm.
for Luffy, go is 5 and mu is 6. So go mu is 56. And all of the fruit users in
Oh,
the
I've heard
Straw Hat
this. Yeah, yeah.
have numbers 1 through 9, except for the 2 and the 9 slot,
Hmm.
which 2 is ni and the 9 is ku, and that's what the pawpaw fruit is, the niku niku no mi.
Right,
So
right.
I think the Vivi thing with her getting this fruit is just even more likely, especially seeing how Kuma acts with this.
Well, yeah,
But
especially, and does that mean Vivi's joining the crew?
I think so. I've been saying that for a while. I think Vivi was. I mean, I think she's not joining. I think she joined in Alabasta. She just couldn't ride along with
True.
them for a
That's
while.
true.
But she's
Yeah.
always been
She is the straw hat. She's a straw hat.
yeah.
But yeah, crazy chapter, a short one, only 13 pages, which hasn't happened in a long time. I don't think this barely ever happens in One Piece, but left us with a lot of questions. And I'm excited for next chapter. See,
You know what I'm not questioning though?
what do you not
Whether
question?
we're gonna get a chapter next week, because there is no break next week. We are getting a chapter.
Let's go.
Hyped as fuck for that.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we'll be bringing you guys next week's chapter, in addition to, whatever else we put out, if we put anything else out. But
Until then, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and as always,
fight us in the comments.
Peace out.
Peace.